We just saw Alien Earth Episode 5. In space. No one? What do we think? Let's talk about it. Alright, this episode was what you'd call a bottle episode, I guess, because it takes place on the Maginot, the ship that started... Okay, let's start that part over. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, this episode is actually kind of a prequel because it takes place from the first scene that we saw back in episode 1. The Maginot is a ship that has been on a journey for 65 years, collecting specimens and bringing them back for Weyland-Yutani. All of a sudden, these people are woken up. We don't know why. In the original episode, we saw that basically an alien got loose, was killing everyone. Marrow, the ship's security officer, isolated himself in a secure pod, survived the crash, and we've been following him ever since in the series. So now we get to find out what happened. Okay. I have my notes over here, so I apologize. It's weird that Marrow gets woken up by, I think his assistant was Jimmy Fallon, or someone that was trying to be a Jimmy Fallon. I didn't know Marrow had an assistant. He gives this young man a gun at one point, which seems like one of the worst decisions you could have made. But either way, Marrow's woken up because there was a breach in containment. Why was there a breach? We don't know. We'll find out. Maybe we will. Or maybe the answer won't be that fulfilling. Alright, so anyway, now they're all talking, and it finds out, okay, after the breach, the captain got a face hugger on him, oh no. And the captain's assistant or someone else that ran in after the captain. They tried to get the face hugger off of one of the people and ended up spilling some acid and basically severing their head. So that person I immediately thought had an alien inside of them, because we've seen in other versions of Alien and Aliens and Alien vs. Predator that a person dying doesn't mean that the egg isn't already implanted and that the embryo isn't growing. So we also have some back and forth between the two doctors. It seems like one is one of like the specimen specialists, the other's an actual doctor. Only about half the ship is awake. They seem to be doing shifts on this 65-year journey. So that's what we saw in the first episode. One shift was going to sleep, the other shift was waking up, and they were getting notes from each other. Okay, so as Marrow is assessing the situation, is trying to figure out what's going on, passes by the engineers, and they say, well, during the breakout, a fire broke out during the breakout. We have no control over the ship. We're leaking gas, all this stuff. We're leaking energy, fuel, whatever. We're going to turn into a missile very soon if we don't figure out what's going on and how to stop it. His assistant seems pretty stupid. I don't understand the point of that. It was funny, but also he seemed woefully unequipped for a 65-year journey. I don't know if they just picked him up. I don't know how they have someone new in the journey and then these other people aged. Marrow, we see that his kid aged and died while he was on the journey. The engineer mentions that I believe his wife was, or either his wife or his daughter was like 20 when he left, and now they'll be his grandmother age. So I don't know how they picked up a younger person, because everyone else seems to be aging at semi-appropriate levels, but this guy seems like a kid. Maybe he was born on the ship. I don't know. We don't really find out about that, and I doubt we will. It doesn't matter. Marrow seems to have some type of questioning towards the lady who is at the moment the captain, but she was also having relations with the captain, and Marrow is upset about that. That's against company policy, and he thinks that it's clouding her judgment. I don't know exactly how it would necessarily, but that's what his theory is. She's given a lot of shade during the episode. You really can't tell if she's one of the people that caused the outbreak. There's a few suspects early on. It's her, Mr. Tang, who, guess what? Mr. Tang's not an android. He's not a robot. He's a human, so that makes his activities both weirder and more normal, I guess. But either way, very terrifying that that's a human being. So anyway, Marrow is going around the ship. He's investigating the breakout. There's a great shot of him looking through the acid ripped floor, similar to Aliens, where when the Marines look down the crevice, look at Ziggy back there having fun. He's excited about the episode too. Okay, where is this? Let me keep zooming in, keep going. There was a great part where the engineer had his arm in the wall, and you really thought the alien was going to come out and grab him or something at that point. But what happens is his friend, who had accidentally ingested alien juice, is now going to start getting sick. Why did he ingest alien juice? Well, that doctor I mentioned earlier who was in charge of the specimens is really, really, really bad at her job. So she didn't secure them at all. She doesn't notice when they come out. They don't have any type of alarm if the containment is opened on its own. if because this thing basically reached its little spider arm through and opened its own containment, came through, it like peed a bunch of its babies into the water that she was drinking, and then I don't know if she ever drank it, but the young engineer apprentice I was just mentioning, he drank it, and that's what led to these weird leeches on his insides that killed him, killed everyone else, infested the ship. It was just we talk about dumb crews in Alien vs. Predator, the Prometheus movie, definitely Alien Covenant. This crew was pretty stupid. The two people that were in charge of medical were probably the most ill-equipped for it. And the lady that was supposedly the captain at that point, when she should have isolated the room already, didn't. When she should have frozen everyone, didn't. Although freezing, interesting note, back in Alien, Parker says, why don't you just freeze him, in regards to Kane when he gets the alien facehugger on him, and they don't know what to do. He says, why don't you just freeze him? We'll get him home. We'll let the scientists take care of him. They freeze someone in that same situation here, the captain, and regardless of freezing or not, that chest burster comes out. So all these years we wondered, if you froze someone, would they be able to get to medical help fast enough or whatever? No, that thing's coming out regardless if you freeze them. I guess you would have to completely deep freeze the human being to the point that they were dead to to freeze the alien. And even at that point, the alien might pop out once you thaw them. So it's a fascinating little piece of lore there that they've added. Another thing that we found out is that Mr. Tang, as mysterious as he is, and even though he's on an android, he knows basically everything going on the ship. He reveals that there's a saboteur, and we knew there was a saboteur, but it's nobody that we've met yet. It's this random head engineer, the chief engineer, Petrovic. And for some reason, Boy Cavalier, he's orchestrated all of this, even though he's played stupid to the crash landing and everything. He is actually the one who contacted the chief engineer, orchestrated the breakout. I don't know why the breakout was necessary to make the ship go off course. Maybe I missed something. If someone could mention in the comments what I'm talking about here or what I'm missing. But either way, this chief engineer was pretending to be in hypersleep. He'd come out of hypersleep, he'd mess with things, he'd go back to fake hypersleep. So now Marrow is on his tail. As this is all going on, an alien is loose in the ship because that alien that broke out at the captain that I mentioned in hypersleep, that thing's growing, it's killing people. That's how I found out that Tang was a human, because the alien comes to... It's above Tang and it starts dripping on him. He actually screams. So not only was the alien interested in him, which was a big hint that he was a human, but he freaked out, which was also something an android would never do. So after that, we see Marrow finally gets his revenge, so to speak. He kills the chief engineer, Petrovic. He tracks him down, kills him. In the process, he accidentally lets out a bunch of the other atrocities, including the eye alien. I don't know if the eye alien is eye guy, as I call him. I don't know if he's meant to be a natural adversary to the xenomorph, because at one point he takes over that engineer that I was mentioning, the older engineer. He takes over his eye, takes over his mind and his body. He becomes like a vessel for the alien, for the eye guy. Eye guy traps the lady as she's on the way to, or is it Marrow or I forget. Marrow or the lady on the way to the pod, and calls the other alien by some kind of clicking noise, as if they can communicate, or maybe they hear each other. So it almost seemed like it was orchestrated, but then as soon as the human was out of the way, they just went at it and started beating the crap out of each other. And I really thought the eye guy was going to somehow grab onto the alien and become an eye guy xenomorph, which would have been interesting. I think they might be saving that for a later episode, because eye guy is still around. So anyway, we find out now why Marrow was able to close off the door, why he sealed himself in the room. Speaking of the sealing off and all that stuff, I don't know why the chief engineer had this plan of sending his ship as a missile into the planet, because everyone died except for the one person in the escape hatch, or the secret pod. Would he have had access to that when he didn't have access to Mother or anything like that? I don't know. I assume he did, because he could do all these type of machinations to get himself in and around the ship when everyone else thought he was sleeping, but it's still a bit odd that he would be willing to risk that to get this money for Boy Cavalier. And then the last scene, we have Marrow back with Weyland-Yutani. He got to them. I assume this is after... Well, it has to be, because he went right from the crash to talking to Slightly and all those people and doing all that crap. So now he's back with Yutani. He's talking to her. She's thanking him for everything. He's saying, I'm going back to get your aliens, and I'm going to kill Boy Cavalier. So that is where we're heading into for the final 3 episodes. So while this episode was super exciting, a lot going on in it, it's stuff that we already knew happened. We knew that where we got to, it doesn't really change anything. It just adds that Boy Cavalier was behind this from the get-go. But you could have kind of guessed that, because these things don't just happen on their own. So, and he's the one that seems most excited with these creatures. So the interesting part to me is how he found out about them in the first place. Was he intercepting communications and all that crap? So anyway, We will be back next week. We have 3 episodes left, so let's see what they have for us. Let's see what actually happens back on Earth in the present time, not in the past of an episode that we already saw. Please leave a like, leave a subscribe. Please be sure to comment if you enjoyed this and you want to see more. I have plenty more of Alien to talk about. We're going to talk about Peacemaker, Alien. I have Rufus coming up this week, and Alex and Rufus Talk About. That's our podcast. Just started doing some uniform reviews if you're into NFL and college football. And, of course, we have my video game Let's Plays and commentary. So have a good one. I will see you next time, and enjoy the episode. I didn't have anything cool to say there. I don't know why I even led with the "and," but I think it's more important to be legitimate with y'all and say, okay, I screwed that up. Let's try it again. Have a good day. See you next time.